When people hear the name Bigfoot, they often think of blurry photographs, sensational campfire stories, and rugged explorers tromping through misty forests with thermal cameras in hand. I was one of those explorers, part skeptic, part believer, all curiosity. My mission had always been clear: document evidence, prove or disprove the legend, and share the truth with the world. But one autumn afternoon in the Cascade foothills, that mission was entirely rewritten in the most unexpected way. It was late in the day, that golden hour when beams of sunlight slant through the trees like pillars holding up the sky. My boots crunched over damp leaves, the scent of cedar and moss heavy in the air. I'd been following a trail of subtle signs, broken saplings, unusual footprints that didn't match any known wildlife, when I noticed a subtle movement near a tangle of fallen logs ahead. The forest was quiet enough to hear my own heartbeat, yet the gentle shift of shadow made me pause. At first, I thought it might be a raccoon or a black bear cub, but as I approached slowly, a shape emerged that froze me in place. Peering from between the moss-covered trunks was a small face, framed not in human softness, but in a fine cinnamon-brown fur. The eyes, enormous and glistening, studied me with both fear and a fragile hope. I crouched down, speaking softly, trying to reassure whatever strange forest child this was. He seemed barely more than 4 feet tall, his limbs long and slightly gangly, his chest rising and falling quickly with shallow breaths. He didn't run. Instead, he pressed himself back against the shelter of the logs, as if blending into their shadows was his only shield. Then came the whisper, so faint I almost thought the wind had carried it. "Are you going to hurt me?" Something about that moment sliced through every logical framework I had. This was not a mythical beast to be captured on film or tracked for the sake of science. This was a child, scared, alone, and seeking trust from the first human he had perhaps ever encountered. I felt the weight of that vulnerability, heavier than any camera I carried. I shook my head slowly. "No," I said. "I want to help." And with those words, the mission changed. In the following hours, I learned what little I could. His language was patchy, some words clear, others strange and buried in unfamiliar sounds, but enough to piece together fragments. He was separated from his family group, driven away from their territory by loud machines and human encroachment. His small form trembled when he spoke about bright lights in the forest at night and the strange voices of men. Through halting gestures, he conveyed that his home, his safety, had been broken. As the sun lowered and chill crept in, I offered him food from my pack, dried fruit and nuts, which he accepted cautiously, sniffing each piece before eating. Slowly, his posture softened. He sat beside me on a mossy log, glancing at the forest in every direction, as though expecting danger at any moment. I realized then that whatever evidence the world demanded, photos, measurements, DNA samples, was irrelevant compared to the truth of this encounter. The truth was sitting right beside me, in the quiet heartbeat between two living beings who had crossed the boundaries of species to share trust. I asked gently if he wanted me to help him find his family. His eyes brightened, but then dimmed again. "They hide now," he murmured, "far away." The way he said it made me understand distances here were not measured in miles alone, but in barriers built by fear. In that stillness, the world seemed to rearrange itself. I had come to the forest as a seeker of proof and a chronicler of mysteries. Now I saw a different mission, one of protection, preservation, and respect. Legends are often born from misunderstanding. What we fear, we chase. What we don't understand, we seek to capture. But sometimes those legends are living communities, fragile and hidden, deserving to remain free from intrusion. We sat together until the sky turned indigo and the first stars blinked through the canopy. I knew I had to leave him in the place he knew best, but I also knew I couldn't walk away as the same person. I promised him, not aloud, but deep within myself, that my work from this day forward would no longer be about proving the existence of his kind to the world, but about ensuring their continued existence in the world. When I rose to go, he stood too, still shy, but no longer shrinking away. He placed his small, fur-covered hand against mine, a simple gesture, yet the most profound handshake I'd ever felt. His eyes met mine, and in them was a quiet message, gratitude, trust, and perhaps the faint glimmer of hope. I left him there among the fallen logs, returning to the trail with a mind whirling in thought. The crunch of leaves beneath my boots sounded different now, resonating with purpose. I thought of the machines he had described, of the way human expansion gnawed at the edges of wildness, and I knew my role had shifted. Documentation would give way to advocacy. Instead of chasing shadows, I'd work to protect them. In the months since that encounter, I've come to see Bigfoot not as a case to solve, but as a community existing alongside ours in the fragile balance of nature. Whether the world ever believes my story is out of my control. But I know that somewhere in those deep woods, a young being is hopefully reunited with his family, learning to laugh again beneath the towering pines. And I know that my mission now is to ensure the forest remains a place where such beings can whisper their fears to the wind and trust that it will carry them to safety, a mission born not from evidence, but from empathy. Sometimes the most important discoveries are not about proving what exists, but protecting what we've been lucky enough to meet.